All right, this is section 5. This is volume of prisms and pyramids, among some other things we'll talk about. This slide here is just really about, that piece right there. The volume equals capital B times lowercase h. So capital letters and lowercase letters mean something in mathematics. Capital B means the area of the base. So all last chapter we were learning how to find the area, or the first 3 sections were about finding area of shapes with the apothem. That stuff doesn't go away. So this will help you kind of review that. Yeah, it's not going away. So you got to find the area of the base. You got to find the height of the figure, because you multiply those two together. That gives you your volume. So you have a rectangle here, and I think most rectangle or a square prism or rectangular prism here, most people remember that a volume of a box is equal to the length times the width times the height. All right? Well, the length times the width is the area of that base. That's the area of a rectangle. And that's where they get the capital B times H, because the base is where you need to focus your attention on. Okay? So, yes, for that one. And if you have a pentagon, you're going to have to probably find the apothem or a hexagon or anything after that. Okay? All right, so let's go to the next slide here. Volume of a cylinder. What is the shape of the base there? A circle. Okay, pi r squared. Again, revisiting that. You have the pi r squared as your capital B and then your H. So you're going to have something that is missing in these problems. The majority of the problems are going to be straightforward. Find the area of the base, multiply it by the height, and you got the volume. Okay? But there is going to become a time where they say, hey, find the height. And they give you the volume, and somehow you know the area of the base, and then you can divide off that and get the height. So you're going to have to do some algebra for any missing piece that they want. Okay? Again, this is just to show you different things. Then we get to the extra practice here. Okay, first of all, what is the shape of number 1? Is it a pyramid or a prism? It's a prism because all the sides are rectangles. And the 2 other sides are triangles. So this is a triangular prism, which means you need to find the area of the triangle. So area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So take your calculator, and you can just put in 0.5 times 3. 3 is your base, times 1.5 is the height. And that area is 2.25 square centimeters. Remember, we're going to focus on the units. Yeah, I was going to mention that here in a second. Yes, that's right. All right, now, that's just the area. What is the height of the prism? In this case, it looks like the length. What is the height of the prism? 5. It's this right here. Okay? So your faces, your triangles, are really the top and the bottom. You'd have to stand it up on top of itself, and then you understand that it's the height. So now we take the volume equals the area of the base times the height of the figure, which the area of the base is 2.25. I'll put centimeters squared here for a reason, times 5 centimeters. Now take 2.25 on your calculator and multiply it by 5, and you get 11.25 cubic centimeters. How many cubes fill an object? Cubes, so you put a 3 there. Length times width times height is cubed. And so you have centimeters squared, real quickly here, centimeters squared and centimeters to the first. X squared times x to the first is x cubed. So you do the exact same thing to units as you do to variables. So that's why we have centimeters cubed there. Units act just like variables, and they can cancel out. That's important. So for you to know when you're doing calculations that if you put your units in your calculations, you can treat them like variables, and that way you know what your units should be at the end, at least the exponents. All right, so anyway, today the volume is always going to be cubed. All right, so let's move on. Number 2. What do we have there? We have a pentagonal prism. Except they gave you the area of the pentagon, which, lucky for you, right? So the area of the base is 10 inches squared. And the height is what? 4 inches. And so, whoops. So we have 40 cubic inches, or inches cubed. That was easy because you didn't have to find the area of the pentagon. Isn't that great? Unfortunately, you're going to have to do some different things. And guess what? Number 3. What is the base? It's a circle, so you need to find pi r squared. What is the radius?
We're missing several students that are on the list.
Okay. What's the radius? So you're going to take pi on your calculator times, or first of all, you probably should find 2.5 squared. And the height of the object is what? 7. Okay, so I would do it this way. I would take 2.5 squared because you do exponents before you do multiplication. If you remember PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So square 2.5 is 6.25 times pi on your calculator times 7. And you get 137.4 cubic inches. And we'll just round to the tenths unless it says differently, okay? Did everybody get that? All right, so now I'm going to pause and let you do number 4. Let's see if you get it right, okay? Okay, as you're finishing up, I'll go ahead and write it out here. All right, by show of hands, who got that right? All right, some of you are still working. Finish her up. Make sure you get 138.2. All right, now we do the harder parts. Number 5 at the top. The height of a cylinder with base radius of 8 inches. So a cylinder might help to have a picture, okay? The radius is 8. And the volume is 2,010 cubic inches. So I'm going to write everything out here so you see it. So the volume is 2,010 pi r squared. R is 8. And I don't know h. So you should write out the whole formula with all the little pieces that you need and then try to find the piece that's missing. All right, so just in general, how would I get h by itself? What would I need to do algebraically? You divide whatever pi times 8 squared is. Okay, so take your calculator and do 8 squared, which you should know what that is, times pi. I'm going to rewrite this here. 2010, and show you something else along the way. Cubic inches equals 201.1. Now that's square inches because it's area times h. Now you told me to divide that number off. Now I want you to look real quickly at your units. What if that was x cubed over x squared? what would that simplify to? Inches to the first, right? Or x cubed over x squared is just x to the first. Same thing with your units. So now take your calculator and do 2010 divided by 201.1. And I'll get 9.995 inches. And that's equal to my h. And height is just inches. It's not inches squared. It's not inches cubed. But that's how those units work. So it is important to kind of make sure you're putting units in there if you can. Again, I'm not going to be a real stickler on it. I want to make sure you can do the process. Okay, but try to do the units if you can. Now, on that one, if you said 10 inches, I would take it because if you round to the tenths, that gives you a 10. Okay? All right. Next one. Area of a base of a pentagonal prism. All right, so again, I'm just going to do a real quick rough draft of this and connect all my pieces. Looks just like a pentagonal prism. All right, so volume equals area base times height. This is important because we're going to do pyramids probably next, not today, and that changes the formula a little bit, so get used to doing this. The volume is 50. Start substituting into it. Centimeters cubed. And the area of the base, okay, it doesn't give us, but it gives us the height of 7.5 centimeters. That's centimeters to the first. Just kind of focusing on exponents for a moment. So how do I get capital B by itself? Okay, so watch what happens. Everybody watch up here. If I take my units with me, x cubed over x to the first reduces to what?
That would just be 30%.
Yeah, squared. All right, so real quickly, x cubed, oops, over x squared. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. X to the first is x squared. That's right. It's gonna your units are gonna be centimeters squared because you're looking for area, but this is y. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take our calculator and do 50 divided by 7.5, and that's going to be 6.7 centimeters squared for the area of the base. So make sure you're writing out your formula. Luckily, they didn't ask you for the apothem, but you should be able to find that. Okay. Homework check, I won't do anything like that. That's crazy. But you should be able to find radius if you have like a cylinder on number 5. You should be able to tell me that. Anything that's missing, you should be able to tell me. Okay? All right. Number 7. Find the missing dimensions. So the volume on number 7 is base times height, area of the base times height. The volume is 661.5. The area of the base is length times width, which is 18 times y, and your height is 3.5. Can somebody tell me how you would solve this? Divide what, Emily?
Multiply 18 times 3.5 and then divide it by 6.
Yeah, so first she would take 18 times 3.5, and then she would divide that off. So let's do 18 times 3.5. We check my math. Make sure your buttons are working right. 63?
Yeah.
All right, so 661.5 equals 63y. And then, yes, you divide off the 63. So the width of this object is what? 10.5 centimeters. I think we got it. We all good? Excellent. Let's stop there.